Pretty similar.
It is pretty similar. Just wave.
We'll save that for later, though.
Yeah.
We're good.
Cool.
Breaking news.
It's like a rainbow. Skittles.
Still looking at those of Tyrann Mathieu.
Wednesdays just haven't felt the same in a minute. We are excited to have Matter Days back. We got a lot to talk about with Matt Hamilton. Let's go!
That's long. Oh, I love it. Keep going. You got to hold it. Hold it. Keep going.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Wish you guys could all see how happy Tucker is right now that he just did that.
Your face is beat red right now, too, after that one.
I don't know if what's redder, my face or my holiday sweatshirt. Welcome into a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank. Member FDIC. Wednesdays are Matter Days here on KC Sports Network. I'm Matt Swanson. I'm here with Matt Hamilton and Matt Lane. Matt Lane, it was just honestly, it was the best to get to hang out with you for 4 days. I miss you already.
I know, it was pretty cool for you to hang out with me, wasn't it? We had a good time down in Dallas, Texas. No, we had a lot of fun. We always have a lot of fun down there. Had a good time with the vast majority of the OG KCSN crew like we do every year. Once again, we were covering an AFC Championship game in which the Chiefs were once again victorious, coming out on top. So that's always fun to do on the road. We had a bunch of other, friends that were in the area that came and watched the game with us. We all jumped in a freezing cold pool in the middle of January because the Chiefs won, and we had a good time, Hamilton. So one, I'm sad you couldn't, you weren't able to be down there. We'd love to have you around to watch this Chiefs victory, but I need to know, what were your thoughts on this game? Quick thoughts, because I think that's what this whole podcast is about.
Quick thoughts. Well, quick thoughts. I thought that was the best this Chiefs offense has looked as a whole all year. That was as impressive as it gets. It's kind of what we've been waiting on. I think
the championship round.
There it is. Yeah, the season starts now. Yeah, that was the regular season, and now we get the playoffs. It's a 2-game season for the Chiefs every year, and here we are. But yeah, I mean, it was so impressive from that standpoint. Mahomes was cold-blooded the entire game. That was an unbelievable performance all the way around from him. It was kind of like we've talked about it was kind of what we've been waiting for all year, I feel like, in a way, and they pulled it all out in, the first game of the season that actually matters. So it's, everybody that had been kind of, the Chiefs don't have, they started 15-1, but they don't look that great and this and that and all that garbage. Like, what else can you say? And people want to bring up the refs, and I can say, I know, as somebody who covers everything, objectively covers the ref narrative is such nonsense. It's such garbage. There's no way you can overturn that spot based on any of those replays.
Get them.
It's the grossest look ever from all these other fan bases. It didn't, again, there were some key moments in the game that could have gone either way. They didn't go your way. Get over it. You had chances to make play. It's not like the game was decided there. It's not like it was a 4th and goal, the last play of the game and that happens. You had plenty of opportunities after that to get a stop, to go down and score. You didn't do it. Shut up. I'm tired of it. I really am. I'm sick of it, and I know you guys, and everybody in Kansas City is sick of it. But as somebody who covers the entire league, I'm so sick of it because just appreciate the greatness that you're seeing in front of you. Why do we have to nitpick this? And comparing it to the Patriots is the most absurd thing. And I've seen people apologizing for hating the Patriots dynasty because this one is worse. The Patriots openly cheated 3 or 4 times that we know of. I don't know how you can compare it whatsoever to what the Patriots are doing, just because there are a couple of favorable calls. And again, the Tuck rule happened, all this stuff. Like, this stuff had, part of winning all these championships, sometimes you need a few things to break your way. And, that doesn't mean that there's some nefarious stuff going on or that so-and-so got screwed. Like, there's 50-50 things in this game all the time, and they've gone the Chiefs' way more often than not. But the Chiefs, you don't have this consistent, sustained greatness without being great. You don't have it because of Taylor Swift or because of the refs or because of whatever else you want to friggin' blame it on. Sorry.
That was the best 5 minutes that KCSN's done this whole week.
Fantastic, Rantleton.
Yeah, well, no, I'm calling him Mad Hamilton.
I see that.
Well, that's Mad Hamilton right there with 2 Ds. You absolutely cooked, Matt. I watched the game again today, and people are so focused on that QB sneak call, which there's just. Look, I get if you spend hours analyzing it, drawing a line and going frame by frame, maybe you can get what you believe is a clear picture of where the ball is marked. But the idea that what are we going to do? Pause the game for an hour and a half so they can figure out if it's a 4th and short, like, or if it's a first down. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's so annoying. It's so exhausting. And like, yeah, you can even like coming back and saying, oh, they got the call wrong. Like, go watch it at full speed and try to I think refs suck largely, but I also think there's no good. Like, I don't know if it's possible to be very good at this anymore.
Hard job.
Yeah, it's true.
And you can get mad. I'm not saying you can't get mad at calls and all that stuff, but also
the
speed of this game is ridiculous. And I'm like, yeah, you can be frustrated with the calls, but like there was no clear and convincing evidence to say that 4th and short happened. There was clear and convincing evidence that Ed Oliver was jumping off sides instead of Mike Caliendo on 3rd and 10, the possession beforehand. Like, I don't know. Like, it's people, like, they're exhausted. Like, they're just over the Chiefs, and they're looking at nitpicking and all this stuff to try to find ways to make them feel better about the fact that the Chiefs absolutely dominated them. The Chiefs weren't lucky in that game either. People forget 5 balls went on the ground in that game. 4 of them were on the Bills, but the Bills recovered all 5 of them. Like, that's remarkable fumble luck there. Like, it's not like the Bills, the Chiefs weren't more lucky than the Bills either. That's just not. It's objectively the Chiefs lost 5.7 points or whatever on their fumble, which was kind of a freak incident. The Chiefs weren't cooking them. The Chiefs were absolutely cooking the Bills. It took a bunch of 4th downs, a bunch of 4th and shorts to keep the Buffalo Bills in that game. Like the final touchdown drive they had, I think they converted 2 4th downs on that possession alone.
If that fumble doesn't happen, it's a blowout. I'm telling you right now, they were not stopping the Chiefs. They didn't stop the Chiefs till the 3rd quarter, and they got a couple stops, and after that they couldn't stop them again. So I think it's a blowout if that play doesn't happen. I genuinely believe that. And even those other looks that we got, the NFL films replace all that, and the lines that people put on the screen are moving. Like, it's absolutely absurd. That shows nothing. You can't see the ball. Did he get it? Like, does that make it look more likely that he got it a little bit? Yeah, but you still can't see the ball. You need it. We've been doing this for friggin' ever. You need conclusive evidence. You can't see the ball in any of those replays. It's not getting overturned. Just like if they called it a first down, it wasn't getting overturned the other way either. We've been through this before. It's just
it's pretty funny. So I think that the ball spotting thing's weird. I mean, it was a judgment call in the moment. Neither ref could see the ball. And so and people are focusing on the fact that the 2 refs had spotted it a little bit differently and which one they went with. It's neither guy could see the ball. They picked the guy that Josh Allen was closer to. They gave him a spot that was short. It doesn't matter. The replay shows that you can't see the football, and even all these extra views and with these these lines put across there, you can't tell where it is. I hate talking about the refs. I think it's ridiculous. There was close calls. The the close penalty calls in this game or like judgment calls from refs, maybe they did fall the Chiefs' way. I'm not going to say they did or didn't. I thought there was a couple 50-50s, and yeah, maybe they did end up going the Chiefs' way. But like Kent said, all the fumble luck fell on the Bills. They had to be overly aggressive on all these fourth downs, and there's like the majority of them, to which they resulted in points, landed on their side. Like I don't know. There was enough football game played in this to say the Chiefs were the better team. There was enough football played to say that, like, if you played this game back 10 times in a playoff setting, the Chiefs are going to win 6 or 7 of them. And like you said, Hamilton, that random fumble the Chiefs had on, okay, they did kind of run like a read option, and that's not something they run a ton of. So our fumbles may be more likely to happen in that scenario. Sure, they might be, but you take away that fumble, like the Chiefs are on the verge. The way that Bills defense looked right then, the way the Chiefs offense is going, they're about to go down 14-3, and instead they end up taking the lead in the possession after. They got a little bit of life after that silly fumble, but like I'm with you. We were on our way to, if it wasn't a blowout, it was going to be the Bills hard chasing the Chiefs because they were unable to get stops throughout the majority of this game. The only drive that they straight up like stopped the Chiefs on without the Chiefs driving was a drive in which Mike Caliendo, the backup guard for the Chiefs, had a couple bad plays back to back. One of which Kent thinks that Ed Oliver was offsides before Mike Caliendo false started, right? So I don't know.
Mike Caliendo didn't false start. That's the problem.
I think the Chiefs are just quite simply the better team in this game. And I think it's really hard to watch it back, like especially watching it back now and come away thinking anything, contrary to that for me.
I felt better and better and better about that team the more I watched. The more that, like, now that the emotions kind of been removed from it and you just kind of look at it on its face value, I feel better about that performance from the Chiefs than I do even now, even though, it was a close game. It kind of had a lot. I think a lot fell the Bills' way. Like, that had no business being a close game. The Chiefs dropped two interceptions, 5 balls on the ground. The Bills recover all of them. 4th downs. I mean, James Cook made an incredible play to get that last touchdown in. Like, that extension and like that, the Chiefs kind of played that decently too. Like, they were very close to getting that thing and getting the ball back. So I felt good. Go.
Well, not to kick the Bills fans all the way down, but they're just it's been so ridiculous. They weren't the better team in the last round either. The Ravens outplayed. They got very, very fortunate in that game. They shouldn't even been in the AFC Championship. I don't think, if we're going by, who was the better team in that game. They got incredibly lucky with those turnovers against the Rams. So I'll just say that too. But yeah. I just the Chiefs are far and away the better team. The better team is in the Super Bowl. Team is in the best team in the NFL all year is in the Super Bowl.
Say it again.
Move on. Get better. Beat them. Get better. Be better than them. Beat them.
They
if you want to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah,
they're gonna try.
The only team that did it like 5 years ago, and they won't let us forget about it on social media.
I've never seen a fan base that's done nothing in over 1,000 days. Seriously,
I'm sorry. I opened this up.
I've never seen a fan base that's done nothing in 1,000 days. Try to insert themselves the way that
I would say nothing in 1,000. They beat the Bills in a playoff game too. That's
Yeah, but like again, like nothing in 1,000 days. Like Roman Reigns had less of a reign than that time. Weston Brewster is asking if Casey is going to be on Radio Row. As of right now, I think the plan is going to be, yes, we will be on Radio Row. So it'll be Tucker and BJ. So keep an eye out on all that. We are planning on getting out there. So that is the plan for KC Sports Network as of right now. Hopefully we're gonna have a lot of stuff out there. So that's kind of where we're at. All right. So
and I will be there too with Up and Adams. I haven't. You guys have gotten so used to Super Bowls that I know like Casey hasn't always been. So I haven't gotten to cross paths in person there at Radio. So I'm very excited for that. We gotta get something going.
I'm so bummed. Well, me and Maddie won't be there, and that's what I'm bummed about. Is I would love to hang out with you. Yeah, we just we'd go get some beignets together.
It's a traveling circus from January up until April. There is so much going on there between Combine, Shrine Bowl, Draft. Like there's just a lot. It's every year the Super Bowl. I mean,
Hamilton, are you going to the Combine?
We are not going to the Combine. I don't know if I'm allowed to announce it, but we may or may not be in Green Bay for the draft. I'll say.
Perfect.
But
I may or
looking
may
like
not
there's a good chance we will be there.
I may or may not, but by that I mean I won't. I wish I was though. I do have one question for you, just kind of like stemming from all like the conversation. Cause like, all right, first off, at any point did you the game Bills versus Chiefs? Did you make a pick
Did I make a pick on air?
anywhere? Yeah. No, I don't think you made
for the
one
record,
here, but did you make
officially.
one anywhere?
Yeah. I don't think I did.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
You would have picked the Chiefs anyway.
Yes.
You would have picked. I already know you would have picked the Chiefs.
Yes.
So like the other question I had for you was like I think for Chiefs fans, and like this sounds very arrogant, but now we are at the point where we're at, where I think it kind of makes maybe a little bit more sense. Is like we've made the jokes about when's the regular season done. We kind of talked about how like the divisional round didn't even entirely feel like the season yet, right? Because we've become so numb to literally the divisional round, which is a wild thing to say, but it's also the reality of what we've experienced for 7 years. I've had a child since then. I've lived in 2 different houses since then. My child, my oldest, was still in diapers when this thing started. I guess, does it kind of make sense a little bit how like the emotions and the like emotions of Chiefs fans? Like, I think you kind of saw it a little bit because of the team too, right? It kind of felt like, you know, they did their thing, they got better, they worked through this thing, they knocked the rust off against the Texans in that divisional round, and then they came out and kind of played their best football. Does it not kind of make sense a little bit now to you from the outside looking in? Because like that's the emotions I think we kind of felt like. I think that's kind of how the team felt a little bit too, to a degree, even though that's very disrespectful to the National Football League.
Yeah, I mean, I understood it all. I like to, you know, bust your chops about it, but it's I mean, this is my 3rd year working for KCSN, and you know, I've seen nothing else from this either since I've been there. So no, I mean, it's it's an unbelievable feat. It really is to be back at this point again this year. And I totally get it from your guys' perspective. And you've earned the right to look at things that way with the way that these seasons have gone. But yeah, no, it doesn't mean I'm, you know, when this starts again next year, I'm not still going to make fun of you about it. But yeah.
As you should. But if they do it again, like I think we'll all just be accepting the inevitability of it all, I think. Hopefully people still tune in. Because like this is just, you know, like it's I don't know, man. Like I think that's what I've been dealing with during out the season. Is like it from like a adrenaline perspective, week over week, it hasn't kind of felt like, you know, like those emotions haven't entirely been there, right? And it really ramped up a little bit during the divisional round, but like in earnest that week, once you got to that like, championship game, that's really where things kind of like started to come back a little bit, which was so weird when I think about like 7 years ago when the Chiefs hadn't won a Super Bowl and all that. Like it felt different, right? Like week over week, game over game. I mean, I used to have a lot of rants. I used to be known for rants. I really don't do that all that much because this team is just taking all the rants out of me, because there's no reason to get super high or low about Najee Johnson getting targeted 12 times in a game in the regular season and it being the only loss for this team. Najee Johnson almost picked off Josh Allen in this game, which would have been very poetic if you ask me. But I don't know. Like that's something I've been struggling. Like it's just that it's been a struggle to navigate all these emotions. And I mean, like this is.
I'm not gonna lie. It was disappointing that we didn't get a rant about Patrick Mahomes is better than you. He's the best player in the world. Get ready, Josh. You're gonna learn. We didn't get that. And then like, hey, what played out, right? And you know, like obviously it played out because he is the best player in the world and he is the best quarterback. Like, so it shouldn't be a surprise. It's just every other year at this point, Kent, you had been giving us a big old rant about it and you didn't have one this year. And honestly, I feel like that piece of my life is missing now.
I think if the Chiefs three-peat, you are going to get something serious because
you're going to rant and hate on Jalen Hurts because that's what you do.
Stop.
Oh boy.
Hey, he earned my respect the last time because he played the best game.
Have you watched him play this year?
We'll get there. That's a next week conversation. The Chiefs are on the doorstep of a three-peat. This is literally the farthest any team has got into a pursuit of the three-peat. So they are the greatest dynasty in the history of the sport. And everyone can cope and seethe in Boston. But there's a lot of legacies on the line for this team. There's a lot of there's a lot of storylines and things, and kind of just looking at the legacy of this organization of Patrick Mahomes. If he's able to get it, I'm going to ask you, Hamilton, if he gets number 3, if he three-peats, is he the GOAT? You can say
that's
no too.
where
Like, don't be scared.
No, that's where this starts moving. I don't think it's fully decided. Like, I think we still have to see how the rest of their career plays out. But again, it's doing something Tom Brady never did. Because again, like, I think we can all agree, like, that's the unquestioned bar now. And you do something Brady never did. It also means that this ring number 4 is important. Beyond the three-peat aspect, the ring number 4 is important. It took Tom Brady till he was 37 years old to win the 4th. For Patrick to do it at 29 and have that at like be 8 years ahead of Tom's pace. Again, not saying that things are going to go. So it's going to be very hard to win 7, no matter who you are. There's so much that happens in this league, so much that changed. But to have 4 by the time he's 30 years old is absurd. He joins Tom and John Elway as just the 3rd quarterback ever to play in 5. And he's the only one to do that before he hit 30. I mean, he really is, like, that conversation is legitimate. Especially, I think it's already legitimate. I think if he wins this one, it really heats up and becomes a real argument. And as for the Chiefs, I think for the Chiefs dynasty as a whole, like you said, they are right there for the greatest dynasty of all time. I think this win would cement it. The Steelers still have a case, I think 4 and 6 years. That's kind of the bar there, I think, from a team perspective right now. The three-peat, obviously, I think, it would give the Chiefs 4 and 6 years, and the three-peat, I think that pushes them above the Steelers. But if they lose this one, the Steelers, I think, still do have an argument in that conversation. But, I mean, this is that AFC Championship, it's legacy stuff. Just being back here in and of itself for Mahomes, for the Chiefs organization, it is a huge deal, win or lose this game. And obviously the win puts them in, completely uncharted territory.
Yeah, I mean, like, as far as dynasty goes, like, they're kind of rolling up to the longest stretch, right? Because, like, when people talk about the Patriots, you almost do. Some people do split it up into 2 different ones because there was so much turnover and such a wide gap in between there. And I mean, whether you do or don't, I don't think it matters. But, like, you're kind of getting to the point to where the Chiefs are going to have, like, some of the longest, right up there with the Steelers, the longest sustained success in terms of getting to being in and winning the Super Bowls for a stretch. And then you add on top the opportunity to have a three-peat, which no other team has gotten to this point yet. If they go ahead and close that out, I mean, like, that from the team perspective, I don't know. I think you kind of lock it away. Like, that's done. That's wraps. It does get intriguing if you start specifically talking about Mahomes and Brady, because there's some stuff. Mahomes will never beat Tom Brady in the playoffs. Can't happen, right? Unless Tom Brady decides to come back, or unless we're going to count wins against the. Never mind, I said in the playoffs, the Raiders ain't making it. So there's no real chance for Mahomes to beat Brady in the playoffs. He can't get those wins back, so he's got to find other things to do that Tom Brady didn't. So that way, 20 years after he's retired, and people are just comparing resumes that maybe didn't watch both of those guys play, you can kind of build a case there. Having a three-peat on record, like that would go a long way, and that would also give him, the next, hopefully, decade plus to win more Super Bowls to continue close the gap of the total amount of rings. So yeah, like, talking about long-term, not trying to get ahead of ourselves, just like if you're looking at this long-term about the whole thing, it's Brady. That's the person he's chasing. That's his only real peer in the space right now. Like, this beating Josh Allen again here and being the representative for the AFC this year, after everybody keeps trying to take him off of the best quarterback in the NFL, we're 2 to 3 years at minimum away from trying to put somebody else over him. There is no current peer to him in terms of, like, lifelong achievement or how great he is at football overall. It's him and it's Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's who he's chasing. This one would be helpful in going after that kind of legacy, given what has happened earlier in their careers.
I think,
and I think, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ken.
Well, I'll just say, and I think from, like, another Super Bowl ring and the three-peat, it puts him in a tier of his. I mean, it puts him in a tier zone, something that Tom Brady's never done. But it also, like, I think that cements himself as the quarterback of the decade. It cements himself as the quarterback of this generation, because I just don't think it's even possible that the rat race that will exist over the next 10 years even if Mahomes doesn't win anymore, I think it's going to be hard for anyone to sniff 4. I mean, 3's near impossible 4, I think, just cements it all and like validates him as the best quarterback of this generation, even if things just go terribly awry in his 30s. Like, I think that's what we're looking at now. There hasn't been any investigations on any of the Chiefs Super Bowls either. I'm just going to throw that out there. Anyways, what were you saying, Hamilton?
I know, I was going to say too, and I think when you look at it beyond just the achievements, when you look at Tom Brady's career and those first 3 rings, and it's not to take away from him, he did a good job managing those games, tremendous defenses. I think there's like a little revisionist history that goes on with him. Like, he wasn't carrying those teams. He wasn't like the Brady that he became, and that we saw for the last 15 years. It was really 2007, I think, where things like changed and he became this all-world superstar player. Yes, they won a lot of games and he was a big part of that before, but you look at the numbers, you look at what was going on the field, like he wasn't doing what Patrick Mahomes was doing, up to this point in his career. It was really around when he hit 30 that he ascended into that other plane when he got Randy Moss, when they got him those weapons. But I think, like when you look at just the individual, accomplishments and the stats and all that and the numbers and what Mahomes, like at this point in Brady's career, like what Mahomes has done blows out what Brady had done at this point in his career as well. And I think that's fair to say. Again, it's not take away from what Tom did, because obviously winning is the most important thing, and he was a big part of that. But he wasn't doing physically what Mahomes has done up to this point when he was 29 years old, up to that point in his career.
Well, I'd go look at the Super Bowl against the Rams, and go look at those stat lines. And I think Ty Law had a pick 6. Also, I think I don't think the Chiefs filmed the practices of any of their opponents. But that's
we know of. Yeah.
Neither here nor there. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
I still can't believe Tucker made me hold that "Let's Go" for that long.
I can't. That was amazing.
I felt like I was 12 years old again listening to Mike and the Mad Dog. It was really something.
Does
I think the Eagles fan in the chat too, but I just want to say I think they're out of here. Shout out Eagles fan in the chat. But listen, you got a lot of talking. That's fun. It's good. I'm glad that you were not scared of the Chiefs, that the game that you will not be playing in.
Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah. He's probably saying we as well.
I'm sure Vic Fangio feels the same because he's had such a good track record against Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Well, my juices are flowing, man. I'm excited. I think that might be for next week. There might be a little rant next week. We'll see.
Oh boy, he's heating up.
We just need some more Eagles trash talk. We can get him. We can get him there. I can make him rant a little bit. I'm gonna make that my mission next week, is to go get into ranting.
I don't think it's going to take much. I see him over there. He's getting redder. He's getting more fired up. He's ready.
Okay. He's like, when Kent watches games, he's usually like locked in by himself, tied down, doesn't say a word. He's in a very like dark place. He was a little bit more chipper this go around against the Bills. He was actually saying words to people and responding. So like he was already feeling himself a little bit for the Bills game. I think if we get to next week and we get some more pro Eagles in like the national media and people talking about how they're going to slow down the Chiefs offense, I think we can very easily pull a rant out of him. It's right there.
I was feeling myself, but nobody was feeling themselves more than Craig Stout.
That's true.
Boy, howdy, was Craig Stout.
Hey,
I like the Kent way of watch. I'm very much the same way. I get into a dark place. I'm with you, Kent.
It's just
I'll smile and appreciate it when the game is over.
100%. But it's just the magnitude of it where, like you put so much. I mean, and I know you sound like you put so much thought into it because we do this show and all this stuff, and like I can't even imagine being a player, right? But it's such a fun ride, and you just want to see, you want that final moment so bad, and like what it means for your city, what it means for the legacy of the players that have changed the outlook of this organization, and Andy Reid, and I mean it's all of that, right? Taylor Swift's happy. So like I don't know. I think I bottle it all up so much, and then when it finally happens, like I don't know. Anyways, that's too thoughtful right now. That's not what this show's about this week. But hey, look, the Chiefs aren't perfect. They did some really good things in this game. But there's still some, things that they can kind of, improve upon and use this time this week to take strides, to take steps so that they can be at their peak when the game kicks off in 11 days. So, Hamilton, give me something that you think that this Chiefs team needs to improve upon and take a step forward with in this upcoming Super Bowl.
I mean, I think the biggest area for me that I would be concerned about from a Chiefs perspective is just if it's still Caliendo out there, which I would assume it's going to be at this point with the way things have gone. We saw him have a couple of rough moments. Jordan Phillips, Ed Oliver, all of that. It's not going to get easier with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, those monsters. And I think, again, it's hard to talk because I don't know how you improve on it. I just don't, you can help him a little bit. He's not going to magically get better. We know what he is. I'm not trying to insult him. It's just, that's the weak spot on this offensive line when they put Tooney at left tackle. And that is the area I think that does concern me a little bit with this matchup, especially, with the way the Bills were able to get after him. So to me, if there is one area of concern, it's that one for me.
Yeah. So, okay, specifically the Caliendo aspect of this, and this actually extends to Trey Smith too, because I know this is not the best defensive tackle matchup for Trey Smith. These are the kind of D tackles that he struggles with, the guys that have a lot of lateral quickness. This is Milton Williams and Jalen Carter, right? These guys are both explosive and they can win, like with their lateral quickness, they can cross his face. And that's where Trey Smith gets into trouble. And then Caliendo in general kind of struggles a little bit. So there is definitely a path to the interior pressure of this Eagles team is a little bit too much for the Chiefs. And that's something the Chiefs will need to get better at. Like, I don't think they were bad versus the Bills. There was a couple times where Ed Oliver really broke through and delivered some big hits on Mahomes, kind of wrecked some plays. But when you go, like we were talking about, the Bills didn't really stop the Chiefs. Like, yeah, it happened on a couple drives. There's an unforced fumble. There was a nice sack by Milano that forced, I think, a punt. And then the drive where Caliendo had the fake false start, got blown up on the play before that, got blown up on the play after that fake false start. Like, it can't happen. So this offensive line does need to play a little bit better than against the Bills. But like overall, the tackles I thought were fine. It's a little bit bigger test here against the Eagles. But again, Nolan Smith off to a great playoff run here. Josh Sweat still very good. I don't know if I can sit here and say with a straight face that this is definitely a better defensive end or edge presence that they had the last time these two teams played, though. Right? Like, I don't know if this is better than what they saw with Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, a little bit younger, a little bit closer to what I think are his peak years. So that's a big battle. The Chiefs' offensive line I do think needs to be a little bit better. The other area the Chiefs I do think will have to make sure they're ready for, just be a little bit more ready for speed. Defensively, I thought they let Cook break some angles on them towards the sideline. They didn't do a great job of always holding contained, not necessarily from the defensive line, but on the second and the third level. They were letting guys, and it wasn't always just Cook. Sometimes it was some receivers. They were letting them get outside of them. So you just got to make sure, because this Eagles team has some athletes on the offensive side, they will let guys get around them. I don't think I was supposed to take this directly to the Eagles matchup, but that's kind of how I was looking at it from here. So like those are the two things on both sides of the ball that I could see have like a translation from the AFC Championship game to the Super Bowl where the Eagles might be able to find some success.
I think that's one of the biggest areas of concern, and I think the biggest things that the Chiefs need to have an answer for. And I think it's not, you're right, it's not super specific just to the Eagles. I think it's just they got to continue to find success on the offensive line. They got to continue to play well. And I think they've done a fantastic job, game planning around what they have up front, and that's been very good. And they did some good things. I mean, Joe Tooney, I don't think allowed to pressure the entirety of the game. But I mean, Mike Caliendo has had his struggles. Like, I think that is a weak link that will continue to get targeted by teams. I think teams have zeroed in on trying to target Mike Caliendo a little bit. So I think that is definitely something that needs to be improved upon. I think, and this is something that wasn't necessarily prevalent in the game against the Bills, but I think it's definitely something that needs to be a point of emphasis for the Chiefs in this game, coming up against the Eagles. And I think it extends to offense and special teams, is they've got to have great ball security, and they've got to really focus on ball security against an Eagles team that's knocked 22 balls out in this season. You've got to, Nico Remigio's made some incredible plays. Ball security is going to be crucial for him in the Super Bowl. He can't make those big mistakes in the return game. Same with the running backs too. They got to protect the football. This team's very good and very technically sound at punching out the football that they're about to play. So I just think, I think one thing that they just need to really harp on and really emphasize in this 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl is they've really got to put an emphasis on that ball security against a team that showed a propensity to punch the ball out. Anything else for you, Hamilton, that you think, or did you have something else you wanted to say about the fumbles?
Oh, I was going to say, just speaking of Remigio, I don't know if you guys saw it. We had him on Up and Adams today. I don't know if you heard the story he told. That was
did. That
awesome.
was
pretty freaking cool. Just like having a guy like Travis Kelce come up to you, like for Travis to notice, like, hey, the nerves are hitting this guy a little bit, and just seeing Travis Kelce come over to you and show that belief in you, it just, I feel like that takes all the nerves out. And that's just like, that's the type of stuff that, like, with this team, with this dynasty, we talk about like what they've built here. It's like, that's the type of stuff that just like, it's not showing up on the all 22. It's not showing up in the stat sheet, but like, I know it sounds cliche to say this stuff, but like, it matters so friggin' much. And it's such a big part of a winning culture. And it makes the difference in these moments where the pressure is high, where the nerves start getting to guys. Like, having that type of leadership, it means everything.
I think this game. Go.
Okay. Travis Kelce always talks about being like an energy giver to the rest of his team. And like, just like that story is like kind of exactly what it is, right? Like, there's different ways to go about that conversation. Any player, a leader or whatever, can walk up to him and like give some level of reassurance. And sometimes some guys might give it as a, hey, you are allowed to return that. And they might not make the guy necessarily feel bad about the way the things played out, but it might not spark the same level of confidence and the energy into the way Travis Kelce went about doing it. It's just, there's different types. And Kelce always talks about like his leadership style, his style of a teammate. And I do think stuff like that goes understated a little bit. And I think Mahomes is the same way. It's maybe not quite as over the top in some of the ways he words stuff, but I think the way he goes about talking to teammates, he instills a confidence in them that's a little bit different than just like, I trust you to do good. It's like a belief that you are going to make plays. So yeah, I think that was a really cool story you guys got out of Remigio there on that. Were you about to transition us out of here?
No, one overarching thought that I just like, you talk about like Travis Kelce and how he was able to settle down the nerves of someone that doesn't have this Super Bowl experience, right? And like, I think that's part of like all of this is like it's intangible, but like it matters. And I think it shows up in like the reason there, like, I think everything about these close games and this 15-1 record in all these close games, I think was validated by where this team is at this point. Just because, I think, they won by 2 scores against the Texans. Hey, but like also like, they controlled that game against the Buffalo Bills too. And it's not always going to show up in the stat sheet, but I think that's the calmness and the vibe that exists, not just in that building, but like I think in Kansas City as well, is just, you've seen this, you see the greatness, you acknowledge the greatness, you understand like, what these dudes are made of because they're their best in the right times. And like, I think that's why like this was the most confident, even though this is a very good Bills team, this is the most confident I had ever felt walking into an AFC Championship game. Now, most of the time it's just because there's a little bit of battered Chiefs fan, where, like there's some scar tissue from being a fan for so long and, 38-10 and the no punt game. And, but Yeah, I think this team getting here yet again and being this opportunity yet again, like you just know they're going to rise above the moment. The moment's never too big for them. That's not even a thought. And the way and the methodology and just like how they go about all this, how methodical it is, it's just, I mean, it's impressive. And like I think that's what I think a lot of us realized during this season. Okay, so we know the two teams.
I have one more thing.
Fine.
Well, this is why I asked you if you were transitioning out, and you went all emotional on me when I had something else.
That's not
It's a very emotional day
Matty.
for Kent.
I'm sorry. Pause. Intangibility is not emotion.
Right,
what are we doing here? This is not an emotional
You're
thing.
allowed to have your emotions, Kent. It's okay.
I have them now.
It's fine.
I'm
one's
observing
judging
things
you.
about human nature.
And I loved hearing it. I appreciate it.
It's beautiful. Okay. Another thing. It sticks with me watching Mac Hollins make amazing catches with a cornerback draped on his back because he's Mac Hollins. And then watching no Chiefs wide receiver besides Xavier Worthy on a random jump ball, which is a phenomenal play. But you can go back to DeAndre Hopkins and some of his 50-50 balls down the stretch. Hollywood Brown, yet again, has a chance at another ball that's very well thrown right out in front of him, not be able to make the same kind of play. So, like, you want to talk about an area for improvement, like, the Chiefs wide receivers are still very good or have been good, especially in that game, at making plays after the catch. It would be nice to see some of them make some more plays on the ball in some of these situations. Because I do think going from the Bills to the Eagles, again, kind of rolling this forward, it's a lot better secondary. It's a it's going to challenge you probably a little bit more at some of these catch points, especially when you do push the ball downfield. Hey, Hollywood, you might have to stack the DB a little bit and catch the ball out in front of you. You can't let him have free access to your arm and just little things like that. Because I do think it's something that I noticed when you have a guy that, again, no disrespect to Mac Hollins, he had a phenomenal year for the Bills, but like that's not a guy that should be making these amazing catches that your wide receivers haven't really shown the ability to make for much of the year, right? So just making some extra plays on the ball, having better ball skills specifically. We also saw Hollywood Brown fight with the sideline. You know, he must have got that.
About to say, yeah, make sure you're in bounds. That helps. Yeah.
Like we saw, so I mean, it's just like there's some times where the Chiefs' ball skills on these vertical passes haven't been ideal, and that could change the game quite a bit as well. And you don't want to leave those plays on the field in the Super Bowl. Sorry, Kent.
Speaking of the Super Bowl, we know the two teams in it. Let's get some just kind of high level thoughts about this game. I know some of them have bled into this, and like we can't completely avoid this game, and we shouldn't completely avoid this game. We're gonna do a full in-depth game preview on Wednesday, but we still have 2 shows till then, so like you can still kind of get some of those high level thoughts that you might have about this game out there. So Hamilton, what say you?
I just think like from a treetops perspective, like this is a significant step up in talent, I think, from an opponent that the Chiefs are facing. I think top to bottom, you take the quarterback side of the equation, we'll have that discussion. But from a roster perspective, the Eagles are a much better team than what they saw in the Bills. I think they have as good of a roster as anybody in this entire league. It is a talented team top to bottom. There's not really a big weak spot. You can, again, we can talk about the quarterback stuff later. I know Matty wants to get into that, but yeah, this is a high level team that, I don't think any Chiefs fan is taking lightly, but you really can't take, they can beat you in so many different ways. This defense, especially like you said, Matty, the secondary is leaps and bounds above what the Bills had out there on Sunday. I'm so excited for that because I think this is going to be an all-timer. I think this is going to be a great Super Bowl. I am so excited for it. And I think, again, not to get too in-depth into it because I know we got a lot of time for that. But yeah, I just think I think this is really going to be an all-timer. I think this will be, as it should be in the Super Bowl, this is going to be the toughest test and that the Chiefs have faced all year. I think this is the toughest opponent that they're going to see.
Let's go. We got a cat on camera. This is perfect.
Oh, here we go.
What's up, guys? No, it's great. Surface level. Typically defensively, the Chiefs have done very good against teams that are a little bit like unidimensional, right? Like when Spags gets to go up against teams that can't pressure him both like on the ground and through the air, they typically have done pretty well. And they get in a little bit more trouble when teams can be balanced, even if it's less dominant at one or the other. If they can be balanced, that has given him a little bit more difficulty over the years. The one exception realistically has been like the Bengals back when they were still making the playoffs and playing the Chiefs. It's because the one thing they did passing the ball was just throwing kind of YOLO shots up the sideline and letting great wide receivers make plays. Well, the one thing the Eagles passing game does kind of consistently is throw YOLO balls to A.J. Brown and let him make plays. So that does give me a little bit of pause that like the one counter punch to the run game that the Eagles have is they can kind of just throw the ball to A.J. Brown and see what happens. So that makes it a little bit worrisome. But again, at the same time, we have seen Spags now go up against the 49ers last year, which is supposed to be a great running game, this physical run game that's going to push them around. The passing game played off of it. They did just fine. We've seen them take a couple teams on like that this year. I would even say like the performance they did against the Bills last week was exceptional. Like, when you include like the Bills run game and how good it was. Yes, Josh Allen made some amazing plays to even make that game close. I think you just challenge Hurts to do the same thing. And if he can't, which I kind of doubt, it's going to be pretty good. So I feel good about like the defense against the Eagles offense. They're not saying it'll be easy. I just generally feel good about how Spags usually handles that type of offense. The other side is scary because of the defensive front that Eagles team puts out, right? That pass rush doesn't have to blitz. They can rush for and get pressure. That always makes them a tough out. Vic Fangio is very much, hey, make the team work down the field. Don't give up explosive. Take what they can give you. But that almost plays into the hands of what the Chiefs want to do as well. And I think that probably explains why Patrick Mahomes is 8-0 against Vic Fangio all time. I understand this Eagles defense is probably more talented, but you can't sleep too much on some of those Broncos defenses there for a while. They had a lot of talent on them as well. So I don't know. I almost feel like the matchup in the margins, I guess, looks decent for the Chiefs, just the way the teams shake out, even if the Eagles talent is, fantastic. Oh, the mute button got you.
This is a very good roster. It's a very good roster. And I think, there's a lot of athletic young talent on, especially defensive side of the ball. They've got a lot of young talent that really hasn't been in this moment yet. They definitely have a game wrecker, with Jalen Carter that when playing at his best can be a real problem. I also think, we'll get into some stuff there with that game with Jalen Carter next week. But I think about one of the big things it's been on my head just as we're thinking about this game a little bit is we've seen a lot of explosive plays from the Philadelphia Eagles in these games the last couple weeks in the playoffs. So they've been able to generate some big explosive plays, close some teams out. Like the Rams. The Rams were giving up huge explosive plays, but were otherwise kind of able to contain. It was a very feast or famine performance for the Eagles in that offense. So I think the Chiefs have been very good about eliminating explosives, and that's one thing that does make me feel better. That I do think that if you are forcing the Eagles to drive the length of the field, I think good things will happen for the Chiefs. So that's one thing that's kind of been a prevailing thought. And the biggest prevailing thought for me on the offensive side is definitely the game wrecker in the defensive line. And the one time this offense has not looked good in the playoffs, it was when, us three and Tucker were blocking for Mahomes against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think, and the Chiefs have a lot more talent on the offensive line at their disposal than they did the last time that happened. But this is a very good defensive front that can absolutely wreck a game, especially with 2 weeks of time to prepare, especially knowing that, there is, a potential weakness, on the left guard. So I'm excited for this game, man. I really am. And I don't think, I really don't think within that locker room, anybody's treating this like destiny. I don't think they believe in destiny. I think they just believe in themselves. So, and they know how to handle this, and they know how to take care of business in these kind of settings. And so that's the thing that kind of is giving me the confidence and belief that that good things are going to happen to the Kansas City Chiefs in 2 Sundays. But we're going to have plenty of time next week to talk about all of that. We're going to be getting more and more in depth on this game. But man, I can't wait. I'm so excited for this football game. You thought I was calm in the AFC Championship game, and I'm calm today, if you ask me right now too. So I'm feeling really good about it. that is going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. For Matt Hamilton and Matt Lane, I'm Matt Swanson. We'll catch you later.
The emotions are running high.
Calmer than you are.